time to check out our items. We can go ahead and sell all of the plate armor because we're never going to use it. And you could haggle for more gold, but I've never done that. It just feels like a waste to me. That must be the magic helmet. Alright, so it's not a 30,000 gold jackpot, but I'll take it. A nice, good bankroll of about 5k is good enough for me. Alright, so I'm back from the store, and here's everything I bought. I bought a full set of chainmail armor because it's good to at least have some kind of armor, even though the best stuff a sorcerer can get is chainmail, which is not all that good, but it's good enough for me. I sold most of the magic items, because I don't need to have just a bunch of magic items in my inventory. You can only cast the ones that you have equipped. Anyhow, would you believe it if I didn't notice until just now that if you right-click on an item, you'll see details about it? Including condition, how much damage it does. You can see how many charges your magic items have left. So I presume the item would disappear completely if I casted it enough times. That's just strange. And you can see how much damage these magic items prevent, which is nice, so be sure to do that if you play this game. Anyhow, the next thing we have to do is find the Mages Guild, which we're a mage, so it would be nice to go to the Mages Guild. The guilds in this game aren't factions you can join and get quests from. Instead, they're just kind of services. The Mages Guild sells like a bunch of magic items, including potions and stuff, and that'll be really helpful because since sorcerers can't regenerate their mana by resting, I believe this is the Mages Guild. It is. That's their logo there, basically. A world where nature holds little power. Yeah, sure, okay. This game likes to be philosophical, apparently. So the Mages Guild is a very, very powerful place to be, because they can identify your magic items, and you can use the Spellmaker to make your own magic spells. Not as extensive as you might be thinking it is, but the Spellmaker is still very good. At the very least, it's better than buying the pre-made spells. The pre-made spells are just awful. I'm gonna see what's on sale here. I don't like any of these. They're too expensive. We do want potions because, as a sorcerer, the only way we can get mana back is to use potions. So I'll go ahead and just buy a bunch of them. Yeah, that's good. And again, you could haggle, but I don't really want to. And I think that's really all we need. Like, mana's good. Like, I can make all of the spells that do all of these potion effects myself with the Spellmaker. I think I will go ahead and do that. In fact, there are many, many wonderful effects you can use, like Create Shield. Oh boy, is this thing broken. Okay, so all of my Mage Guild business is done. Here are all of the spells that I have made. Let's see, start the game with Fire Dart and Light Heal. I made a shield spell. This shield spells are completely broken in Arena because they don't have duration. If they had duration, then the shield would eventually disappear, but since it lasts forever, or until the shield gets destroyed, you can go into dungeons basically with a bunch of extra health. Enemies have to break through the shield before they can actually cause damage to you, and that's crazy overpowered. I also made an invisible spell for turning invisible. This is also broken. When you turn invisible, enemies cannot see you. They will not go after you unless you punch them first. So this is just overpowered. You can run around the dungeons without ever being seen. I also made a spell for levitating, which is going to be just a teensy bit helpful. Not that helpful, but it's useful for getting over lava and stuff. A light spell so I can see better, and Pass Wall. This breaks so many of the dungeons in this game because it destroys walls. And that's amazing. You will not see this in Elder Scrolls ever again. So that's all of the spells. Can you right-click on these? Oh, okay. Anyhow, that's all of the preparation I've done for now. We just need to rent a room at a tavern, and we'll be all set for our little adventure. So I'm going to ask this NPC where the nearest tavern is. Northeast, you say? Okay. Ah, here we go. This is what the tavern looks like in Hammerfell. The most beautiful song in the entire game, I swear. Hello, bartender. Can I have a room? Thank you. There's a bunch of different rooms, but only the first one really matters. I'm just gonna stay one day. You can haggle on the price of a room. It's amazing what you can do with this thing. Alright, so no rumors. If you ask for rumors, it generally leads to a side quest somehow. Not lately, huh? I think that's about to change. Anyhow, we can just rest anywhere and we'll be good to go.
I see you have strengthened your arm and your mind. It is time we began this journey. This is the Staff of Chaos, the one item that can open the door between this world and the dimension to which the Emperor has been banished. Tharn used this item to destroy my corporeal form when I tried to warn the Council. He knew that the Staff of Chaos was nigh indestructible, having been made from the essence of the land itself. But in that he found the key. As the land is split, so did he shatter the staff into 8 perfectly formed pieces. These he scattered across the realm. I have been able to divine the location of the first piece, a place called Fang Lair. It is said that Fang Lair was originally built by the dwarves of Kragan. Legend has it that a great worm drove the dwarves from their home in the Dragon's Teeth and took the lair for itself. I only wish I knew the exact location. Perhaps there are sages or scholars who would know of this place. Somewhere in its dank depths lies the first piece of the Staff of Chaos. I wish you well. I do not think Tharn knows of your escape, but I can do little else in this form. I have tried to obscure your identity with a spell, but I do not know how well it will hide you. Take care, for Tharn may be searching. Go forth with the blessings of the true Emperor, and myself.
Okay, so Spooky Ghost Lady gave us our quest objective, which is to find Fang Lair, and inside will be the first piece of the Staff of Chaos. Now, the way this is supposed to work normally is that you would travel around Tamriel, ask a bunch of NPCs where Fang Lair is, like so. And they will point you to a certain province. Well, actually, we're kind of in Hammerfell already, so that's step 1. And then if you ask around some more, they will eventually point you to a certain city in the province where you can find more info. Except I already know where all the quest givers are, so I know that the palace in Rihad is where we're going, so let's head inside. Yeah, about all these walls of text, you can read them if you want. I just kind of click through them because I've read them a dozen times by now already. Now, it's kind of unfortunate, but there are like hundreds of towns in this game. Only like 8 of them get used for the main plot, which is rather unfortunate. So the Queen of Rihad has told us that we need to go to Stonekeep and get a little piece of paper that will apparently let her find Fang Lair for us. And she mentions this one goblin dude and a bunch of other stuff that doesn't matter because, you know, there's no named enemies in this game except for the final boss, and when we get to him, that'll be interesting. So, I've got my potions, I've got my magic items, and I think I am all set to go. Stonekeep's not far from Rihad. And I also want to mention that, like, every town in this game, like, you can go outside and run around the wilderness, but it's basically, like, every town is basically, like, this, self-contained area. You can't like walk from one town to the next, or walk from one town to a dungeon or whatever. Oh, there's enemies around here. Stonekeep is a pretty easy dungeon. It's mostly rats and goblins. I'm gonna clean them all out before I get to doing anything interesting. I wish I had a magic item that could cast the light spell. Maybe there'll be one around here. Finding stuff already, so that's a good sign. So I'm not going to pick up all of the treasure piles in every dungeon, because that would take a while. I just want to clean out a couple of enemies so they can't do anything crazy. But it's nice to pick up the treasure piles that are easy to find. And the more magic items you have, the better. They sell for a lot, and there's a trick you can do with them. Oh. I actually didn't know you could get little pieces of text like that if you walk around long enough. So I guess you can kind of find some stuff out about each dungeon, which is pretty neat. Storytelling in this manner, is actually pretty nice when it's done right, but we unfortunately don't see... Oh, there must be an enemy. There were a bunch of goblins came out. The way I play this dungeon, you actually don't get to see a lot of it. You actually see very little of it, and... yeah, I want to say it's not really my fault, but then again, I'm the guy with the maps and everything. Goblins, huh? Let me check where I am. Yeah, I'm going in the right direction. There are supposed to be wolves in here, actually, but I don't see any. There was supposed to be a new enemy type, but they ain't showing up. It's like the game is making this easy. Oh yeah, some of these doors are locked. And if I had a spell I could unlock it. I could also try lockpicking it. But it almost never works. Lockpicking is almost never something you want to try. So, instead, we just bash it open. Yeah, that's the best way to get the door open. I don't think there's anything in these rooms, actually. Open up! Thank you. Nope, nothing in the two locked rooms, which goes against video game logic. Come on. Oh, there's the wolf. These are a little stronger than the goblins, but they're not... oh, they seem to come out in packs. Oh good, a level up. Ooh, 6 points. That's good. So one of the reasons that I picked Wood Elf, in addition to the stats just being nice and balanced, was that the Wood Elves actually get a bonus to their melee damage, and that probably sounds a little weird. When people think Wood Elves, they think archery and nature stuff. I'm gonna get some of my health back here. But in reality, they were going to give the melee bonus to another race called the Red Guards. They come from Hammerfell. But and the Wood Elves would have gotten the archery bonus, but they accidentally switched the two, so it's the Red Guards who get the archery bonus in this game. Fortunately, the other Elder Scrolls games fixed that. So I'm going to get some MP, and I'm gonna do a really... no, I don't want to check my journal, jeez. How many spell points do I have? There's a really sick trick you can do in this game. Use up some potions to get some MP so we can cast the barrier spell to shield ourselves, and then if you select a magic item that fires a spell at a target and then right click, oh, I got all of my magic back, and I can do it again and again and again. See, when you cancel using a magic item, the game thinks you canceled casting an actual spell, and it thinks, oh, I have to give the player the mana back. I have to refund the mana for casting the spell. but I didn't cast a spell. I was using a magic item, so guess what happens? Yeah! I love glitches, don't you? And this is the latest patch. I have the latest patch. Anyway, this is a shortcut through the dungeon. If you stand on this bed and hold shift and hit J, you jump. Jumping is a thing you can do. If you hit J, then you jump up in place. But if you shift jump, then you jump forwards. So that's really nice. We're going to cast Invisible on ourselves and start levitating. Shouldn't have done that in the staircase, though. We just levitate over to this platform. I could swim here if I wanted to. And there's corpses everywhere. And I want to be careful because there are enemies around here. These are ghouls. They are not as weak as the goblins were, is what I'll say. So I stopped levitating, and I actually want to keep casting Invis just to make sure I'm invisible. So here's the scroll. And there are also locked chests that we can attempt to bash open if you, yeah, it's open. And speaking of glitches, that scroll that I just picked up is actually the only quest item in the game that respawns. Yes, it respawns. And because of that, it is actually possible to pick up the scroll multiple times over and over again, and every time you do, the game thinks it has to advance the main quest. Oh, I hope I'm going the right way. I'm not. Anyway, every time you pick up the scroll, the game thinks it has to advance the plot. So you could technically pick up the tiny little scroll 17 times, because there's 8 staff pieces and 8 dungeons well, there's 16 dungeons you have to do. Anyhow, after picking up the 17th scroll, the game would just give you the end cutscene. So technically, you could beat Arena by just doing this dungeon 17 times. Anyhow, that was a short dungeon, glitch or no. So we're gonna go back. And I know you guys are probably gonna yell at me for abusing a dirty glitch, but you know, sorcerers. Well, there aren't really very many caster enemies, so I like to have this big pool of mana. And every time you use the glitch to get more mana, your magic item actually loses a charge, because the game refunds the magic, but it doesn't refund the magic item's charge. So that is one way the glitch can be detrimental, but still. And that's yet another benefit of creating the big shield spell with the big mana cost, because you can just, you know, it gets the most efficient use out of that glitch. The best magic using class would actually be the healer, because they get a discount on shield spells. Anyhow, she will give us the location of Fang Lair. Well, I killed a couple goblins, so hopefully one of them was the one you mentioned. You know, you'd think they would put that goblin they mentioned in front of the scroll and have it act as a sort of boss battle, but the thing about the Elder Scrolls series is that they don't do epic boss battles the way a Zelda game would, for example. Speaking of Zelda, collecting 8 pieces of a staff or a artifact or something, that sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? Anyway, I'm going to sell off my stuff and I will be right back. Alright, we're back, and I think it's time we tackled Fang Lair. It's all the way up there for some reason. So, away we go. Each of the dungeons with a staff piece in it has this nice little piece of artwork, and oh, that's actually the that statue thing there looks like it's in the shape of the Skyrim logo, actually. I know that symbol means something, but I'm actually not sure what. But that's pretty cool. Even the Amulet of Kings, which was pretty important in Oblivion, exists in Arena, so it's nice that most of their lore goes back a long way, but not like all the way back. So Fang Lair is a little bit more confusing than Stonekeep is. You can use these mine shafts to navigate the dungeon a little more. Swimming in an underpass is actually a good way to avoid encounters because there's never enemies down here, but they might block your exit, which is not going to be good if it happens. So, I am using a map this time. I have Stone Keep memorized, so I don't use a map for it. Let's get some... Oh, I identified the magic items, so now you can see what they are. Let's cast this light spell so I don't have to wander around darkness. Wow! Adamantium Helm. That is the second best metal in the game, but unfortunately, sorcerers cannot equip plate, so it's kind of useless. See, I should be going the right way. All those noises sometimes make me think there's an enemy nearby. But most of the time, I'm either missing the enemy or it's just some kind of environmental effect. So here you keep going east and south. And just in case anyone thinks I am abusing Invis too much, because I am going to use it to get past a couple of enemies. There are enemies in this dungeon that I will eventually kill. You'll see how that works. It's actually pretty hilarious. I just snuck past a couple of Minotaurs, in case you were wondering. They look awful. You don't want to look at them. The Minotaurs are completely ugly, and you should never look at them. I also think there are a couple of orcs in here. Orcs are pretty interesting because they're not a playable race like in Morrowind onwards. The reason they aren't playable is explained in Daggerfall, basically. Okay, keep going this way. The auto map is really helpful for navigating this place, but it does get confusing on occasion. I think I'll take a small detour for a treasure pile. This dungeon is actually pretty low on enemies, come to think of it. Get my light spell. Keep going west. I don't think you go up there. There's Minotaurs up there too. Right, this is the correct way. That's the orc noise, by the way. I just heard it. I think I come up here. Yes, I do. Alright, so there are a couple of treasure piles in these side rooms here, but they're behind really tough locked doors. Lock has nothing to fear from me. I'm not going to try and break through it because the last time I tried that, my weapon broke. Weapon durability is a thing. And there are spiders in these cages. How very odd. Well, this is actually one of Arena's gimmicks that doesn't really come back in later games. They have riddles and puzzles in front of some of the doors, and you need to answer them correctly. It's kind of a weird gimmick, but I already know all the answers. This one's a logic puzzle. The answer is the gold key is in cell number 2. If I had answered incorrectly, then the cells would have opened and all the spiders would have come out. And spiders are not friendly. They can paralyze, which I guess they're not strictly poisonous spiders, but oh, whatever. On to the next floor. If I were a high elf, I'd be completely immune to paralysis, but I'm a wood elf, so that's not going to happen. I'm going to cast... Oh. Light wore off. I'm going to cast Invis and Levitate to get past a couple of skeletons. Get past a couple of... They were just in the perfect spots for blocking me. So this room is pretty neat. It's this giant pool of lava with a with the staff piece in a locked room in the center, and like no other enemies. There's a couple of treasure rooms then though, and there's a bunch of skeletons way over there. So, are you ready for some fun? Is Invisible wore off? Okay. So behind this door, there's a riddle, but behind this door are two enemies guarding the staff piece. So we give the correct answer of love and hello! It's a couple of hellhounds. They're supposed to fire their breath weapons at me. Okay, they do that. So, whoa, 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 cast the barrier. Jeez. So, that was scary. Thought I would die. So, you know how sorcerers absorb spells? Well, these breath weapons count as spells. And these breath weapons are also explosives. So, if it does hit you, it is possible for the enemy to get blown up by its own spell. At least that's how I understand it. You could also cast Spell Reflect if you have that. So are you gonna get hit by your own spell? Do I have to fight you normally? Okay, I will. This actually might be a little difficult for me. I'll just recast the barrier. And then pull away a little bit. Try and get him to... Spell absorption doesn't always work. The chances are based on your intelligence and willpower. Come on, buddy. Times like this make me wish I had an ice spell. Okay, he's dead. No need to worry. And we level up, so, that enemy shook me up, actually. Feeling kinda sweaty. Maybe it's the hot environment. Okay, so I'm going to... Because last time I tried this, escape, thank you. I'm just gonna make a safety save. Because the last time I picked up that staff piece, it crashed the game. And what do you know? It actually did. Okay, so I have no idea what actually happened. Apparently, if you pick up the staff piece and have a weird amount of EXP, the game crashes. I don't know how that happened. It happened twice to me so far. So we are going to have to find a couple of extra enemies and correct the EXP problem. I've never encountered that issue before, though, so this is really strange. I am also not walking around the pit of lava correctly. So those skeletons I skipped before, let's go ahead and get rid of them. They don't take too many hits, so I probably shouldn't have skipped them before. Do they have items on them? No, okay. So one more. Not hitting for much either. So hopefully when we pick up the staff piece this time, the game does not freak out and crash. I mean, I know this game was buggy, but I've never really encountered that problem before. Noted, the staff is made of ebony. We level up. And we're safe! Perfect! There we go. Now we just gotta get out of here. Alright, just a little bit further. Hey, the treasures respawn when you change floors. That's very strange, but okay. Free items. And we're out. Jeez, that was more stressful than it usually is, but we are out of there. I'm just going to travel to the nearest town. All the towns are basically the same, except for what items you can get in the stores, which is rather unfortunate. Yeah, I got a lot of business for you, town, because I have items to sell. Then I need to rest. Wow, so this is how much money I raked in from selling all of those items. Pretty neat, huh? I didn't even sell all of them. I'm keeping a couple of them. Well, that's amazing. So that's all for this episode. Next time we'll take on the next part of the main quest. See you then.